Okay, hello everyone. So today we'll discuss about the question coming up in your Form 4 Final Exam 2022 for Selangor State people. I created many sample question would be very similar to the actual question. Okay, so we'll roughly go through every question. Okay, for the question one, it will be chapter 2 or related to isotope around 5 marks. So quite standard lah. They'll ask you what is isotope. So you must mention isotope is the atom of the same element, which is same element, with the same proton number, 5, but different neutron number. This is what we call isotope. So you have 1 marks in the definition. Then they might ask you about chemical property. So chemical property, you look at 5, right, is 2.3 valence electron, 2.3 valence electron. They'll ask you whether their chemical property, are they the same? Your answer is yes, because chemical property depends on your valence electron, because your valence electron determine which group you are in the periodic table. So this is the proper answer you need to write. Both of them have same chemical property. Why? Because they have same number of valence electrons. Then they may ask you to draw electron arrangement. So for electron arrangement 2.3, you have to draw 2 and then 3 here. Then middle need to be shaded and put a B there. Okay, they'll need they're gonna ask you about the percentage. So two potential questions come up, both cover. So they say percentage abundance of boron 10 is 20%, then boron 11 is 80%. So how do you calculate the average mass there? You take 20% times 10, 80% times 11, divide by 100%. So you get the average mass, which is the related atomic mass, will equal to 10.8. Then carbon 14 is the one that used to determine the age of the fossil. Okay, another type of question is they're going to give you, we have two isotope. Okay, and the average mass is 204.4. They want you to calculate percentage of abundance. So in this case, you have to assume that 203 is X%, and then 205 will be 100 minus X, because imagine, let's say this is 40%, then 205 will be 60. How do you get the 60? Is you take 100 minus 40. That's why when this is X, this one also X. After that, you take the X% times 203, 100 minus X times 205, divide by 100%, you should get the average mass is 204.4. Then bring the number over the other side. So this will bring over here, become 20,440. Then open up the bracket. Okay, then after that, bring over here, you will get X equals to 30%. Then you can put in here X equals to 30%, then 100 minus 30 will equals to 70. Okay, another sample question. They might give you magnesium. So same, they started with the definition. For this, the difference is they ask for atomic structure. You have to know, you have to check the exam question. It's either electron arrangement, means no need to draw the proton neutron, but this you need to draw the proton neutron. So you have to calculate for magnesium 24. Based on this, this is your proton, this is your proton plus neutron, your neutron number. So means it has 12 proton, 12 neutron, 12 electron, because 24 minus 12 equals to 12 neutron. Then after that, you put in the 12 proton, 12 neutron at the middle, because proton and neutron are in the nucleus. Then you draw the 2.2, because 12 will range as 2.2. So you draw it out. This is the answer it looks. After that, they ask, do these three magnesium atoms have the same chemical property? Your answer is yes. Why? Because they all have same number of valence electron. All the electron arrangement is 2.2, 2.2, 2.2. Then they ask you to calculate percentage of 79% of 24, 10% of 25, 11% of 26. So this is what you do. 75% of 24, 10% of 25, then 11% of 26, divided by 100%, you get the average mass at around 24.32. This is another example. They have two examples here. This is another question that they give you. We have two, this, that, we got 32, we got 34. The average mass is the 2.1. So same, you assume your 32 is y%, then 34 is 100 minus y. Then put in the calculation inside that 32 times y, and then 34 times 100 times y equals to the average mass 32.1. Then bring it over the 100, you bring it over here because 3,210, then you find y equals to 95%. So in this case, if 32 is 95%, then 100 minus 35, then 34 is 5%. Okay, so this is how you get the first 5 marks. Your question should be roughly like this. We go for the second question. Our second question is related to chapter 6, related to monoprotic acid, diprotic acid. So this is how the question looks like. They give you hydrochloric acid, sulfuric acid, and ethanoic acid. So hydrochloric acid, we call them as monoprotic acid. Okay, then sulfuric acid, we call that as diprotic acid because it can produce 2H plus when one molecule is ionized in water. Then ethanoic acid also is a monoprotic acid, but it's a weak acid. Weak acid means they don't ionize completely in water. Only 1% they ionize into water. So for example, like let's say I have 1 mole per dm cube of HCl, I will get 1 mole per dm cube of H plus here. Then if I work 1 mole per dm cube of H2SO4, I will get 2 mole because the H plus is double. But now for the weak acid, right, although I got 1 mole per dm cube, it only 1%, that's 0.01 mole per dm cube. So you see, if you compare these three, are very obvious. The strongest acid will be our sulfuric acid. That's why you see the pH is very low. Then the second one will be the hydrochloric acid. And then for the weak acid, you can see the pH is very high. So exam, how they're going to ask you this question. So this is what you write. Hydrochloric acid is a monoprotic acid which ionizes completely to produce 1 hydrogen ion per acid molecule. Then our sulfuric acid is a diprotic acid which ionizes completely with water to produce 2 hydrogen ion per acid molecule. Then ethanoic acid is a weak monoprotic acid that ionizes partially. So the concentration of sulfuric acid is double the concentration of hydrochloric acid. Then the concentration of the ethanoic acid is the lowest. So the higher the concentration of hydrogen ion, the lower the pH. Another example question will look like this. They give you X, Y, and Z. You can see this is monoprotic acid. This is diprotic acid. So they ask for example. So monoprotic acid, you can either write HCl, which produce 1H plus and 1 Cl minus, or you can write nitric acid because this two is a strong acid which ionize 1 H plus out. Then for the diprotic acid, you must suggest sulfuric acid, which produce 2H plus. This question around 5 marks or so I don't expect them to ask very detailed. So you mentioned now H2S is a diprotic acid, HX is a monoprotic acid. So the concentration of H plus is higher, or you can write double because this one produced double. So this you can change it to doubles, okay? So the higher the concentration of hydrogen, the lower pH, because more H plus means more acidic. When more acidic, your pH will be very close to 0 or 1. Then compare these two, so you can mention if they ask for weak acid, so weak acid ionized partially, so concentration of H plus is very low. The lower the concentration of H plus, the pH is high. This explains why the pH is very high for the weak acid. Then another type of question is they're going to show you something like this. You can see they give you the formula. Then this one pH high, pH low. So they ask for what is basicity for J. You mentioned is diprotic acid. Why you say diprotic acid for sulfuric acid? So you mentioned because it produces 2H plus per acid molecule. Every sulfuric acid will produce 2H plus. Then they ask to calculate molarity of the K in mole per dm cube. So you can mention this one. You put in 5 inside. Then you can anti-log to get this number. Then the equation, you need to write this equation roughly lah. CH3COOH. Okay, write with the Zn. Okay, now CH3 COO minus and H plus. So what happened here is when you take this thing out, you combine with Zn. So Zn, you will form plus and minus, take away the 2 cross down here, and then you bracket. And then H will come out as H2 gas. Okay, for question three will be related to group one around 6 months or so. So this is some sample question for you lah. Lithium, potassium, sodium. You can see potassium is very fast. A lot of bubble come out. Sodium is the second one. Then lithium is very slow. So what is the gas release? So we can write out the equation. Sodium plus water. So sodium is group 1, so Na plus. Water inside got H plus and OH minus. So what happened here is Na will find OH as a friend, become NaOH. Then hydrogen will come out as hydrogen gas behind. Then to balance the equation, you see, Na is balanced, the O is balanced, but the hydrogen is not balanced. Here got 2 hydrogen, here got 3 hydrogen. So I teach you in the class today, whenever you're stuck because you don't know how to balance, right, you find the biggest one or the longest one, you times 2. Then you rebalance again, 2 nitrogen, 2 nitrogen. I got 2O here, I put a 2O here. 4 hydrogen, 2 plus 2 is 4. So this is the idea. Then after that, compare the reactivity lithium and sodium. Of course, for group 1, right, you're getting more and more reactive. Why? Because lithium, sodium, potassium, when going down the group, the proton is at the middle, but the size is getting bigger. So when the size getting bigger, what is the effect? Because for group 1, they need to donate out the electron. Example, let's say talk about sodium. Sodium is 2.8.1. He need to donate out his electron in order to achieve stable octet electron arrangement. So to donate, right? Okay, we talk about the size first. When going to the group, sodium is bigger than lithium. So when sodium bigger than lithium, right, the single valence electron that I want to donate out is far away from the nucleus. So single valence electron is further away from the nucleus. Because nucleus got proton, which is positive, then the electron is negative. So they got attraction force. So the force of attraction between the valence electron and the nucleus is weaker. When weaker, right, it will be easier for the sodium to donate out the electron. Because when weak means loose easy to donate. This explains why lithium, sodium, potassium, right? Lithium is more reactive than sodium. Then this is another equation that you need to know. So for the first one is the gas release is hydrogen gas. Hydrogen gas is this one is the hydrogen gas. Okay, then I'll talk about the second reaction that which they're taking the lithium rare oxygen. So we just write out the equation. Sodium react with oxygen O2, they'll combine. So we know sodium group 1, O is 2 minus, crossover become Na2O. Then we balance the equation, 2 oxygen, 4 nitrogen, 4 sodium, then 4 sodium. Then the white powder would dissolve, Na2O plus H2O. The white powder, they dissolve in water. Okay, this equation, a lot of students, they don't like. They say, teacher, how do I memorize the equation? So I teach you a method that Na2O, if you write it out, Na2O is it got 2Na1O, right? Water got 2H and 1O. 2H1O is H2O and Na2O. But if you combine these two together, can you see you actually form 2NaOH? Okay, the observation on the gas chart. So you can write for the lithium, you'll burn very slow because lithium is less reactive with red color fire. Then sodium, you'll burn very fast with yellow color fire. Okay, then how lithium, sodium, potassium is stored in the lab is keep in the paraffin oil. Then, okay, among here, got one group 1 element are used to build battery, rechargeable battery. The one is your lithium. This is coming up in your state paper. You need to know this answer. Then another sample question, okay, they might give you unknown because sometimes exam, right, to be capable, they'll give you unknown. Instead, they give you an A, lithium, potassium, they'll give you P and Q. You can see both come from group 1 because they got one valence electron. So they will keep inside the paraffin oil because group 1 is very reactive. You expose them to water and oxygen, very fast they will react. Okay, equation between P and water. So you have to write P plus water. Okay, then P is group 1, so become P plus. water got H plus and OH minus. Now I show you how do you handle unknown. So P and OH will become POH plus hydrogen gas come out. Balance equation, PP balance, OO balance, but the H is not balanced. So find the biggest one times 2, 2P, 2P, 2O, 2O, then the equation is balanced. So if you put the phenolphthalein, what will happen? You see pink color turn colors because this group 1 are called alkaline metal. Alkaline metal, right, means they will form alkaline when they dissolve in water. So you need to know this one. Then now they ask you who is easier to react with water. Who is more reactive? Of course, Q. Why? Because first, okay, let's say I copy down this picture to explain to you why it's more reactive. So imagine now, among these two, who is easier to donate the electron? So I write down here, this is the electron outside, this is the positive, this is the electron outside, this is the positive. So first, Q is bigger size. So the valence electron of the Q is far away from the the P, but you must not compare the P. So the attraction force between the proton and the nucleus and the valence electron become weaker. It will be easier for the Q to release valence electron to achieve stable electron arrangement. So which group 1 element are used to produce rechargeable battery and lithium? Please remember this answer. You give you 1 marks in the exam. Okay, now we move on to question 4. Okay, question 4 is a question that related to chapter 3. Okay, they'll give you an equation here. Okay, so it's already confirmed the chemical is related to combustion of ethane. So they'll give an equation here. Then they ask you what is the meaning of molecular formula. So molecular formula is the formula that shows the actual number of each element in the compound. Okay, so if they give you a question here, they might ask you about the qualitative and quantitative information. So the two information, they want two information. Okay, why you stated two information? Qualitative information got two. First, the chemical. Okay, this two is the reactant, this two is the product. Okay, so you can write out the first sentence. The reactant is ethane and oxygen, then the product is carbon dioxide and water. But here got another qualitative information is they give you bracket G. Bracket G means is gas, 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 liquid. AQ is aqueous, S is solid. So if they give you bracket G, you have to write the gas out. But if the question change that don't have the G beside, right, then you just mention the reactant is ethane and oxygen enough. No need to write the gas out. Because it's the information you can get from the equation. If the equation does not bracket G, no need to write G, gas. If bracket G, you write gas. Then quantitative. Quantitative means quantity. What is the quantity information we have here? 2746. So you mentioned 2 mole ethene gas react with 7 mole of the oxygen gas will produce 4 mole of carbon dioxide gas and 6 mole of H2O. Then after that, they might, if they give equation, because only 7 marks, they might ask for this. They also might ask calculation that they give you 3 gram of ethane. So first, you calculate out. Ethane is mass over molar mass. I got 3 gram. Then ethane is C2H6 . So C is 12. So 2 times 12. 6 hydrogen, 6 times 1. Then you get 0.1 mole. Then after that, from the equation, what do you see? You look at this equation now, ethane and carbon dioxide gas, the ratio is 2 to 4. So you can mention here, 2 mole of, they ask for oxygen. So the ratio is here, 2 and 7. So 2 and 7. So 2 more of the ethane were able to produce 7 more O2. So now my ethane, I got 0.1. So divide by 2 times 7, I get 0.35. Once you have 0.35, right, you need to calculate 0.35 times the molar volume 24 here. You'll get the volume is 8.4 dm cubed. The empirical formula, so the formula of the molecular formula is C4H6. Empirical formula, you simplify the ratio. It becomes CH3 because 2 and 6 can simplify to 1 and 3. Okay, then we go for the question 5. Very fast go for question 5. Question 5 will be around 8 marks. So first, they might ask about melting point. The question will be related to the heating of acetamide. So what is melting point? It's the constant temperature which the solid turns into liquid at the particular pressure. So what is the melting point? Is this? That is, okay, so this is the melting point, which the temperature will start at temperature here, because here is the part that the solid turning into liquid. Here is the mixture of solid and liquid. They'll ask why you need to use water bath. Okay, first thing, you cannot direct heat the acetamide. Okay, you cannot direct heat the acetamide because is flammable. Acetamide is flammable. Then if you direct heat up, because the fire, the temperature is 300-400, man. If you direct heat, right, it might caught fire. Okay, so you can write this on acetamide is flammable, so cannot direct heat. Then second one, if you direct heat below, only bottom part is hot. If you direct heat below here, only bottom part is hot. But if you put into a water bath, then it able to heat them at 100 Celsius, because fire directly is 300 Celsius, 400 Celsius. Water maximum 100 Celsius. And water bath also heat uniformly. So there are two reasons you need to write. Acetamide is flammable, cannot direct heating. Second one, you write water bath can use to heat the acetamide uniformly. Then what they'll ask you, why need to stir? So you mentioned now to make sure the temperature of the acetamide is uniform, because when you heat them, right, the side will be hot, the middle will be cold. So you need to bring in to stir them so that the temperature of the whole acetamide is same. We call them uniform temperature. Then they will ask you what is a similar melting point. You can write naphthalene. But if they ask that sulfur have the melting point of 114, can you determine the melting point using the water bath? The answer is no, because my water is only can reach 100 Celsius. It won't able to melt the sulfur, because you need to melt sulfur into heat until 114. Then you should replace oil bath, because oil bath can up to 200, 300 Celsius here. Then after that, they always ask this question, why the melting point, why the temperature will stop here? So you need to mention this, a standard answer. Please make sure you memorize this so it's coming out. Because the heat energy absorbed by the particle is used to overcome the force of attraction between the particle so that the solid turn into liquid. Okay, this one is very important, always come with an exam. And you need to sketch the graph. Please sketch like this. They might tell you the melting point is 80. If they don't tell you, you just change this one to melting point. It depends on the questions, okay? Then this is called supercooling now, because you don't stir, it will cool down. So you need to continue stir them to avoid the supercooling. So this question should be roughly at least about 8 marks here. Then we'll move on to the question, it is question 6, question 5. Then we go for question 6. So for question 6, related to the chapter 8. So first you ask about the what is alloy. So you can write down alloy is this is typo here. This is Q. Q is alloy. Alloy is a mixture of two or more elements where the main element is a metal. Which alloy make Q? So you can write down duralumin to make aeroplane. So duralumin, you need to memorize what is inside. You can how you remember the duralumin. You remember coal mama. What is coal mama? Inside got copper lah, inside got aluminium lah, inside got magnesium lah, inside got manganese. The element inside. Why do you choose this duralumin to make aeroplane now? Because it's very light and strong. Because aeroplane cannot be too heavy. It will be very hard to fly and land. At the same time, it use a lot of petrol if they very heavy. Then why aluminium? Okay, they might ask related to why pure metal are soft law. So you can mention because pure metal, they all are same size and orderly arranged. So when the force applied, they're able to slide over each other easily. So for the alloy things, right, I show you the notes here. So for the alloy, right, if pure metal, they all same size, right? When you apply the force, they'll slide. But if for alloy, you add other element, which is not the pure metal, it will disturb the order arrangement. It make it harder to slide. So they might ask you why duralumin harder than pure alloy. So you can mention that we have the copper atom, magnesium atom, and manganese atom, because the majority is aluminium. So these three, when you add in as a foreign atom, which different size, right, it will disturb the order arrangement of aluminium atom. So when force applied, the layer of atom, aluminium atom is harder to slide. Okay, so you might ask this question now. Then P is a stainless steel pot. So you can see this is a stainless steel pot. They ask you about the glass. So glass, the main component is silicon or silicon dioxide or silica. Then because this cooking pot, they need to heat the glass. Means this glass suddenly very hot. So if you use other glass, you might break easily. So we will use borosilicate glass. Because borosilicate glass, they have low thermal expansion. When you heat, it don't crack. Why glass crack is because, let's say outside is hot, inside is cold. Hot will expand, cold will contract. So glass is not so flexible. So for borosilicate glass, right, they don't expand a lot. So when hot and cold, they don't expand too much. So it's not easily cracked. You can heat directly from 25 Celsius all the way to 200, it won't crack. Then R&S is a ceramic. So this two is, what is this difference between these two ceramic? This is called traditional ceramic. This is called advanced ceramic. So for the advanced ceramic, okay, traditional ceramic is made by the kaolin or aluminosilicate. So why do we choose to the traditional to make the cooking pot? Because it's heat insulator and high melting point. It will melt. Then for the brick disc, you to use silicon carbide. It's very popular in exam. Silicon carbide, why do we choose them? Because silicon carbide is an advanced ceramic that very, very strong. Then even suddenly you break the car, temperature from 25 all the way increase to 200, it can tahan thermal shock and high heat resistant to heat and abrasion. Okay, abrasion means you scratch. It won't easily scratches. Another potential question for question 6 will look like this one. They'll ask you, this is stainless steel, this is the glass. Why I choose stainless steel? Because stainless steel do not rust. Because cooking pot will contact water, it will rust easily. Then glass is silicon dioxide, borosilicate glass is this glass. Why? You can write because it's resist to thermal shock. Then this is racing bicycle, aeroplane, the electric cable. You must use duralumin because they are very light and strong. All these things I need light. Racing bicycle is very light, means I can faster speed aeroplane. And then this one, because the cable is very long, like 2-3 km. If you use normal alloy, it's very heavy. Duralumin is much light though. Okay, then this is the kitchen. The main component of ceramic will be the kaolin or clay. So this is a traditional ceramic can use to do the dental implant, knee bone, all this is the traditional ceramic. How you use them? Question 7 related to chapter 7, which around 10 marks. The chemical is confirmed is magnesium and hydrochloric acid. Okay? So I give you two sample questions. First, you can see it's 100 cm3, then magnesium chips is added inside. So they use different concentration of the acid. After that, this is the beginning of the reading. This is the final reading after 2 minutes. So what is mean by the rate of reaction is the change in quantity of the reactant per unit of time. Means if you write it out, will be the quantity divided by time. Now. The gas release, we write out the equation, mg plus HCl, it become mgCl2 plus H2. Okay, and put a 2 here. After that, the gas release is hydrogen gas now. Okay, for the ionic equation, right? Because this is H plus, Cl minus, Mg2 plus, and Cl minus. So when you write the ionic equation, right, you need to cancel the Cl because Cl don't have any changes. So the ionic equation will become 2H plus Mg and then become Mg2 plus H2. So this is the ionic equation. Then they might need they'll ask you to calculate the rate of reaction. So you see here, within the 2 minutes, right? What happened in these 2 minutes is from 100 becomes 70, means it releases around 30 cm cube of gas in 2 minutes. So this is how you calculate the total volume release is 100 minus 70, you get 30, divide by 2 minutes, so you get 15 minutes, 15 cm cube per minute. The second experiment, 100 dropped to 40, so the gas release around 60, divide by 2, you get 30 cm cube per minute. Okay. Then after that, they'll ask you about the compare the rate of reaction. You can see for set 2 is higher. Why set 2 is higher? You can okay, this is the one. It's confirmed the collision theory is coming up, and they'll ask about concentration. So first you mentioned why number 2 is higher. First you mentioned because the concentration of hydrochloric acid used in experiment 2 is higher than experiment 1. You can see the concentration is higher than experiment 1. Then when you higher means what? I show you. Let's say this is same concentration, so both have same volume. Higher concentration means you will have more hydrogen ion per unit volume. So you can see these two, which one has higher volume? This is experiment 1, this is experiment 2. So this is higher concentration. Why? You see it has more hydrogen ion. Same volume, you have more hydrogen ion. Unit volume is higher. And remember, some teacher mark very strict. You to mention experiment 2 is higher than experiment 1, experiment 2 is higher than experiment 1, like this, okay? After that, frequency of collision between the hydrogen ion, because the colliding is between the H plus and Mg. So you write this hydrogen ion and magnesium atom. So this is the exact answer you need to write in the actual exam. So please make sure you write every words inside here because the examiner they mark very strict. Example, let's say you write hydrogen ion, you forgot to write magnesium atom, you write magnesium also 0. Okay, you must mention who collide with who. Hydrogen ion collide with magnesium atom. Okay, then frequency effective collision increase, then it will be higher, then reaction will be faster. I give another sample question. They might don't give a diagram, they give you something like this. But from here, you're able to see the differences is the concentration, because confirmed concentration come up. So at higher concentration, shorter time taken to collect 50 cm cube. Then lower concentration will take longer time to collect 50 cm cube. So write out the chemical equation between these two. So Mg plus 2HCl become MgCl2 plus H2. The factor we'll call concentration of hydrochloric acid. Don't just write concentration, must write concentration of hydrochloric acid. Okay, because as I say, chemistry mark very strict. Then calculate the average period of reaction. So we check here, 50 cm cube, right? They use 20 seconds to collect. So I calculate the set 1 now, 50 cm cube to divide by 20 seconds, I get 25 cm cube per second. Then this one, second experiment is 50 cm cube, use 40 seconds to collect. So 50 divided by 40 seconds, I will get 12.5. Then compare this one. So number 1 is faster. So set 1 is higher rate of reaction compared to set 2. You must write higher rate of reaction, because they ask you to compare rate of reaction. So you mention this one has higher rate of reaction. Then reason why. So you can mention the concentration of hydrochloric acid in set 1 is higher than set 2. So the number of hydrogen ion per unit volume is higher in set 2 than set 1 than set 2. Then frequency of collision between H plus and Mg was higher. Then frequency effective collision. So technically the last two sentences are the same. Just add one effective collision inside. Then they might ask you to calculate the volume. So you check here. This is my M. This is my V. So molarity and volume, you can use MV over 1000 to find number. And after that, they ask the volume of gas release. You look at the equation. HCl and H2, the ratio is 2 HCl produce 1 H2. It means that 2 HCl produce 1 H2. Now my HCl, I have 0.05. So 0.05 divided by 2, I get 0.025. Once you have 0.025 of the H2, you times the molar volume, you'll get 0.6 dm cube. So this is the question, sample question for your question 7. Then for question 8, we're related to hydrogen bond, covalent bond, and wet finger. So roughly go through. So this is what bond is called covalent bond. Because covalent bond, they are what we have that is they share electron. So for covalent bond is neutral molecule. They cannot conduct electrics because neutral molecule melting point is very low because there's no charge there. They are very weak when they force, and they only soluble in organic solvent because organic solvent also is covalent molecule also. Then they might ask about hydrogen bond. Okay, so I explain to you what is hydrogen bond. Okay, hydrogen bond occurs when hydrogen connect to FON. Example, why FON? Because FON is what we call them as high electronegative. Okay, what is high electronegative? Very strong in attracting electron. So when we share electron, the electron supposed to be at the middle. But due to nitrogen is very, very strong in attracting electron, so the electron will be closer. Let's say I draw the electron as a E minus, so easier for you to understand. E minus means the electron is negative. So when the electron is attract closer to the nitrogen, it causes the nitrogen become partial negative. Then hydrogen become partial positive. Because electron is negative. So if they are at the middle here, of course, it's neutral. But when the electron attracted to closer to the nitrogen, it causes the charge to be unbalanced. So your right-hand side become partial negative, your left-hand side become partial positive. That's why when you have H connected to FOM, the hydrogen will become partial positive. All the hydrogen become partial positive, then nitrogen become partial negative. Partial positive, partial negative, partial positive, partial negative. So between the partial positive, okay, partial positive, partial negative, what is the difference? Like example for ionic, like Na plus Cl minus is 1 plus and 1 minus. Very strong. Partial positive means like 0.01 plus, 0.01 minus. It's very small positive, but still got attraction. That's why this attraction, we call it as hydrogen bond. Okay, so you need to roughly know this. So what is a good thing about hydrogen bond? Now, we know that molecule, they don't dissolve in water. Molecule, they don't dissolve in water. Because molecule are neutral, then they cannot dissolve in water. But if the molecule able to form hydrogen bond, like example, ethanol not supposed to able to dissolve in water, but because of this, the H connected to O, it become partial positive, partial negative. Then the water also is polar solvent because water also is hydrogen bond because they got oxygen become partial negative, partial positive. So when a molecule not supposed to soluble in water, but for molecule that has hydrogen bond, they able to dissolve in water because they can form hydrogen bond in water. So they might ask you why ammonia can dissolve in water. So you mentioned, no? How do you explain that? First, ammonia soluble in water. Why? Because ammonia, it has H connected to N. You must tell me why it's qualify the hydrogen bond because the H connected to N. Okay, H connected to N. Then after that, they're able to form hydrogen bond between the ammonia molecule and the water molecule. That's why it can have hydrogen bond. So this is how you explain why those molecules able to dissolve in water. Yeah, the ammonia has higher boiling point. Okay, so The idea is this neutral molecule, normal molecule, their force of attraction is very weak because they only got small, very weak van der Waals force. But those particles that can have hydrogen bond, the molecule that has hydrogen bond, due to they got partial positive, partial negative, partial positive, partial negative, they also has hydrogen bond between them. So means that they will have two force. One is van der Waals force, one is hydrogen bond. It's like you play a game. If got one boss to kill, the game easily can break easily. But if the game got two boss, you need more energy to win the game. So you mentioned this one. Ammonia, it has hydrogen connected to nitrogen. So you must tell me why ammonia qualify as a hydrogen bond. So there's a hydrogen bond between the molecule. Then a lot of energy is needed to overcome, okay, to overcome the van der Waals force and also to break the hydrogen bond. You need to mention this because they're very strict in here. Bond must break, then forces you overcome. Okay, so these are the keywords that you need to remember. Then it's coming out this one. Okay, this is very, very important coming out. But if you try to flip a paper, it's very hard using your dry hand. But if you make your hand to be wet a bit, right, you're able to flip the paper faster. Why? Because cellulose, it has the OH. OH means it got partial positive, partial negative. So if you use your dry finger, it won't able to flip the paper easily. But if you wet your finger, that in your finger here, you have the water. So water, it has partial negative and partial positive mark. So this water, right, will able to form hydrogen bond with the cellulose, it able to help you to stick the paper out. So this is how we explain it. So firstly is how to explain. First, you must prove to me why the paper has hydrogen bond. So you mentioned cellulose in the paper has H connected to O. Then when the finger tips is wet, right, it will form hydrogen bond between the water molecule in your finger and the cellulose molecule in the paper. When the so easy to flick the paper lah. When the fingertip is dry, right, there's no hydrogen bond, harder to flick the paper or count the money like this. Then we go for this another similar questions. Ethanol, after that, related to the why ethanol soluble in water. So you mentioned ethanol, it has the H connected to O, which is high electronegative. You must tell me why it qualifies for the hydrogen bond. So due to you have hydrogen bond, there will be hydrogen bond between water molecule and the ethanol. That's why it is soluble in water. Then for this question, they tell you that these two molecules, they are similar mass. Why the melting point so big difference? One is negative 42, one is positive 78. The differences is like more than 100. So you mentioned because for the propane don't have hydrogen bond, it only got van der Waals force. For ethanol, it has the H connected to O, so it causes the partial positive, partial negative. So it has hydrogen bond plus your van der Waals force. So you need more heat to overcome. This one you need less heat to overcome. So this one higher, this one lower. So you mentioned ethanol has H connected to O. So it has hydrogen bond. So a lot of heat is needed to overcome the van der Waals force and to break the hydrogen bond. But for propane, it only got van der Waals force. There's no hydrogen bond. So you need a little energy to overcome the van der Waals force. Okay, you see how the question looks like. Then the chemical bond here is the what we call the covalent bond. Then covalent bond, the oxygen will contribute 2 to share, then hydrogen contribute 1 to share, like this. Okay, for Question 9, because question 9 is very tough, I highly recommend you don't do the question 9 because it's very tough and it has a lot of the trap there. So I recommend you to do question 10. So for question 10, it's very simple. Yeah, I explain to you. First, it's related to empirical formula. They will have two experiments for you. Okay, they have two experiments for you. Okay, higher chance coming out the copper, higher chance coming in copper. But I need to explain these two for you because um it might ask to compare these two, so you need to know the comparison part. Okay, first you have to memorize the empirical formula definition, the coming out empirical formula definition. So empirical formula is a chemical formula. We show the simplest whole number ratio of each element in the compound. Please memorize this. Now, so for this reaction is this. Magnesium, they will burn with oxygen and become magnesium oxide. Okay, balance equation. Because when you form magnesium oxide, this magnesium oxide might fly out. It might fly out because it's a powder form. It will fly out as a white powder. We call white film. White film means white gases. It fly out. So you need to cover it so that it won't escape. If it escape, it will affect the mass. Then how do you make sure the reaction complete now? You remember this answer. You heat cool weighing process is repeated until a constant mass is obtained. Because you can see magnesium, example of magnesium here, assuming this is 5 gram. After that become magnesium oxide, the mass increased to 8 gram. So if you burn halfway, only 20%, maybe it increases to 6 gram. You burn again, you get 7 gram. You burn again until 8 gram. When all the Mg change to MgO, the mass will stop at 8. It shows that the reaction has complete. That's why I need to heat the ready, cool down, measure the mass until the mass stop at a number, means the reaction has complete. Okay. After that, now crucible is this plus the lid. The empty crucible and the lid plus the magnesium. So you take 31.5 minus the 28.5, you'll get a magnesium. Okay. After that, magnesium react with, after heating, is become magnesium oxide. So very simple. You take the 33.5 minus 31.5, you'll get oxygen. Then divide by the molar mass. Oxygen mass is 16, magnesium is 24. Divide 24, divide 16. Then the ratio, you divide by the same smallest ratio. You get the ratio is 1 to 1. So the empirical formula is MgO. Then now they ask you why this method not suitable for to determine the empirical formula for the copper 2 oxide. You see the reactivity series, kalau nak kawin mesti ada zinc flexible supaya perempuan hasil cukup anak. So hydrogen gas is here. Here is the hydrogen ion. So for magnesium, it's a reactive metal. We call them a very reactive metal. So when you burn magnesium, because it's very reactive, right? The reaction is very fast. Very fast, you'll turn into magnesium oxide. But if you heat copper with oxygen, it can turn into copper 2 oxide, but it's going to take very long because it's less reactive, very, very slow. The process will be very slow. So it's less reactive towards oxygen. The reaction is very slow. So for copper, what do? We'll go for the second experiment. Since copper burning oxygen is very hard, so the lab assistant, they will help you to heat the copper with oxygen. Maybe they take 1 hour, 2 hours to heat it. You will get your copper 2 oxide on your hand. So what I do is I go and use hydrogen gas. Because you can see hydrogen gas is more reactive than copper. So the hydrogen were able to steal the oxygen from the copper because it's stronger. Okay. But So they'll ask molecule, they either ask you molecular formula or empirical formula. So you have to memorize the definition. This one meant to memorize 1 marks here. For empirical is simplest whole number ratio. For the molecular is the actual number of atom of each element in the compound. Please memorize this, you get extra 1 mark here. So how do you get the hydrogen gas? You will need the zinc plus hydrochloric acid. I'll show you here. If you put in zinc metal into HCl, what will happen? Zn plus HCl, it will become ZnCl2 plus H2. So it's able to produce hydrogen gas. So this hydrogen come over here, they'll react with the copper here, then to form copper. So because the CuO is black solid, this is brown color, copper is brown color. So you can write the black solid turn brown. Then this is the equation. The empty glass tube, empty glass tube with copper, empty glass tube with copper to oxide. So in this case, to get the copper, right, you take this minus this off because we cancel, we get a copper. To get the oxygen, you take the third one minus the second one. So that cancel, 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 you get the oxygen. Same 1 divided by 64, 1 divided by 16. You get the ratio is 1 to 1. So the chemical equation would be the CuO plus H2 becomes Cu. Okay, why I discussing about copper is coming out, the experiment that related to copper is coming out, but they might come out a question like this. They'll give you unknown. They ask you to suggest what is the chemical X, what is the chemical Y. So metal Y, you suggest who? You suggest magnesium because I just explained to you, magnesium burn with oxygen become magnesium oxide. So why are you choosing magnesium? Because magnesium is reactive. They can react very fast with oxygen. Then how about this? Must use copper to oxide. The reason why copper to oxide, because copper is very less reactive. So it needs to react with the hydrogen gas, which it is less reactive than hydrogen, so that the hydrogen able to steal, see, copper is less reactive than hydrogen able to steal the oxygen from the copper. Okay, so this is the one that you need to know. Then for here, they given you the chemical. They give you magnesium here, they give you the copper to oxide. So they want you to compare the differences here. So I write out the equation for both sides. CuO plus H2, it becomes Cu plus H2O. Okay, so what is the similarity? So I explain one by one the similarity. Open an answer for you. Just explain to you one by one. First, both of them got heating. Second one, both is solid and gas. See, magnesium is a solid, then related to the gas here. The differences now is one side is the metal oxide form, one side is the metal form. Second one react with the oxygen gas, one react with the hydrogen gas. Then the mass increase because Mg and MgO, of course, MgO heavier, so mass increase. CuO becomes Cu, the oxygen missing, so the mass decrease. Okay, so they must ask like this. So this one, the question should be something like this, around 12 marks here, around 8 marks here. So very simple question, calculation, definition. And then for the second part, part B of the question is related to balloon. Okay, this one will be very, very, very similar to the actual question. Okay, we can say almost exactly same question now. So they'll give you 2 balloons. One balloon is 2 dm³ of the helium. One balloon is 3 dm³ of the helium. So you need to know that helium is group 18. They are monoatomic. Hydrogen gas is diatomic because hydrogen is not stable. They have to share electron to be stable. So they'll ask you what type of particle. So you mentioned hydrogen gas is atom. Helium gas is atom. Hydrogen gas is molecule. You get 2 marks here. Okay. Second one, compare the size. So very obvious. This is bigger size because 3 dm³ means bigger size. And explain why. So you explain, you get 1 mark here. B is bigger size because volume of hydrogen gas is bigger than volume of helium because 3 dm³ is bigger than 2 dm³. Okay. Then you want to calculate the number of mole. Okay, so for number of mole for gas, we use volume, molar volume. Helium is 2 mole per dnk divided by 24, you get 0.833333 mole of gas. Then after that, hydrogen is 3 divided by 24, because 3 dmq divided by 24 dmq, 24 dmq per mole, you get 0.125 mole. So here you get 2 marks for here. Then it asks to calculate the mass. So mass is very simple. Number of mole equals to mass over molar mass. My helium, I got 0.083333 times 4. I will get 0.3333 gram. After that, for my hydrogen, I got 0.12 mole. Then times the hydrogen is 2 times 1. Then I'll get 0.25 gram. Then after that, they also ask you to calculate number of atom. So number of atom, you have to use number of atom equals to our constants. The number of moles 0.0223 times the 6.02 times 10^23, you'll get the atom is this much. Then for hydrogen, right, you cannot get atom first, you have to find molecule. So 0.125 mole, you times the 6.02, you get the 7.525. And because each hydrogen molecule, it has 2 atoms, so to change the atom, you have to times 2. Then you'll get 1.505 times 10^23 atom. Here you get another 2 marks. So technically, using this balloon, you get about 12 marks a day. Plus the experiment, just I get 20. So please don't read question 9. Do the question 10. Then if cut, you think which one fly higher? Of course, A fly higher, because A is like this is heavier. Okay, so this one is your 20 marks in your essay, as long as you print out this PDF, you write the answer 10 times, or 2 times, 3 times at least. Then tomorrow you're able to get very high marks, 70, 80, 90. Okay, so this is your 20 marks per essay. Okay, question 11 is a question you can skip. Okay, so now I show you a question that almost similar to actual question. Okay, so technically you can memorize the answer here. You will get 20 over 20 for your question 11. So first thing, green solid, you heat it, become blue solution. Whenever you write with sulfuric acid, it become blue solution. Whenever you see blue solution, you know it's copper in it. So this is, and then when heat become one gas, so this should be CuO plus CO2. Then this is CuCO3. When plus sulfuric acid, so Cu and SO4 become CuSO4 plus CO2 plus H2O. H and O become H2O, C and O become CO2. So give me the, identify them. So you mentioned that W is copper 2 carbonate solid. Z is copper 2 sulfate solution. X is copper 2 oxide, which is black color. Y is carbon dioxide gas. Here you get your 4 marks on hand. So they will have around 8 marks here. They ask for cation test and anion test. Remember, cation means positive ion. Then anion means negative ion. So we start with this one. Test for copper. Cation, test. You want cation test here. So the test copper, you need to memorize. They ask for solution J. So pour 2 cm³ of the solution J into the test tube. Then add the ammonia solution drop by drop into the test tube until assess. You'll get blue precipitate at the beginning. So let's say this is your test tube. You'll get blue precipitate at the beginning. After that, if you put assess, the blue precipitate will dissolve to form dark blue solution. Okay, so the dark blue solution form will confirm the presence of copper 2 ion. Okay, so here they'll give you around 5 marks like this. It depends on the marking scheme. Then for the anion test, for the sulfate, okay, you can write same, add 2 cm³, then 2 cm³ of nitric acid, followed by 2 cm³ of barium sulfate, you get white precipitate. This white precipitate confirms the presence of sulfate, because the barium ion will react with the sulfate to form barium sulfate, which is insoluble in water. This is how you get the 12 marks done. Then the exam will end with a a discrete experiment. They want to prepare PbCl2. They'll give you three chemical, PbO plus nitric acid plus potassium iodide. Okay, to get your PbI2, you cannot straight away put PbO to Ki. The reason is that this, okay, Ki is soluble in water. But PbO is not soluble. So when you throw in the PbO into the Ki, there's nothing happen. There's nothing happen. So how do you settle this thing? Is like this. I show you. First, take acid. Okay, amino acid. So the acid here is the nitric acid. So 25 cm cube of dilute nitric acid is added to the pickle. After that, the acid is heated gently. Why you need to heat the acid? Because if you add the milk powder into cold water, very hard to dissolve. You need add into like warm water. So you need to heat the acid to be warm or a bit hot so that it can dissolve easily. Then put in your lead-2 oxide powder until it no longer dissolve. Excess. Why excess now? When excess, right, you destroy all the nitric acid. Okay, so the idea is like this: PbO plus HNO3, it become PbNO3 plus H2O. So this is the solid, this is the acid. So when you put this excess, right, you destroy the no more nitric acid. Then you filter out this powder, you get your Pb nitrate. Then after that, you add your Ki inside. Okay, the 25 cm of the potassium iodide is added into the filtrate. Then you form the precipitate because PbNO3 plus the Ki, you will form PbI2 and KNO3. So the two straight pour together, you get the insoluble salt. So this is the insoluble salt that you want. You filter out, rinse it, and dry it. You get the pure PbI2. Okay, so this is the answer about 8 marks here. The equation, you see what they want. They might want chemical equation or they want ionic equation. Okay, so that's all. I believe this video will able to help you to get around. If you practice a lot, you open up this video, watch few times, take out test back, write the answer a few times. You should able to get around 70 to 80 on tomorrow paper. Good luck for tomorrow exam. Bye bye.